Hello and welcome to Recharge Wrestling. We are here to plug you into the world of professional wrestling. I'm Keeney and I'm joined by my fellow colleague Fisher.
Hello, guys.
And we will be running through the week in WWE. We'll run through SmackDown, Raw and NXT. But first, we're over to Fax Fisher, our news correspondent, for some relatively breaking news for the podcast, isn't it?
Yeah, I like it when we get stuff happen on a Thursday afternoon or Thursday evening. It's nice. And tonight we got treated to some news. I think positive news about WWE's commentary team. So I heard a couple of days ago that they were considering freshening it up for the season premiere, changing a few things around. Then it was sort of rumored earlier that Wade Barrett was going to be on SmackDown this Friday, which I thought, okay, is this a one-off or is this permanent? And then about an hour after that, it was confirmed that they're having some new interviewers and commentary. So Jimmy Smith he's tweeted announcing his departure from WWE.
Okay.
First of all, I just want to say, I think he did okay on commentary.
He's all right. I'm not going to miss him.
He was an upgrade on Adnan Virk because they had Adnan Virk, didn't he? He didn't last very long. They had Jimmy Smith, but I wouldn't say, oh, I'm going to miss his commentary. It was just okay. It was solid enough and he was okay. But I'm not I don't think he doesn't have that passion that Michael Cole has. He doesn't have that knowledge that Corey Graves and other people have.
I feel like Corey Graves has kind of carried Raw for a little while. He's kind of become the main guy on Raw, and Graves and Saxton have their back and forth, and Jimmy Smith. I mean, I'll let you read out the pairings a minute, but I'm not really a fan of the 3-man booth. I feel like 3 is a bit much.
Sometimes it can work
for the odd time if you have a special guest announcer, but 3 commentators, I just think I know McAfee's been great, but we prefer, even on NXT, you had Vic Joseph and Wade Barrett as a duo. I mean, Beth Phoenix was good when she was there as well, but I just prefer a 2. So
I do think a 2's better. I think 3 can work sometimes, but they all have to contribute something, and I think a lot of the time the third person kind of gets just lost a little bit. And on Raw, I feel like Byron is that person, really, because Jimmy Smith kind of does the play-by-play, although I do feel like Graves, like you say, is kind of carrying that at times.
Yeah, I feel like
then adding his heel stuff, and then obviously him and Byron have their back and forths. But so Byron, it looks like, is going to be an interviewer or backstage person now rather than a commentator, which I don't. I mean, I don't mind Byron Saxton.
I don't think he's a great commentator. I don't think he's the worst either.
And obviously Graves is going to be.
So I actually can't remember myself.
Graves is going to still be on Raw because he's been on SmackDown recently as well, hasn't he?
Yeah. So who's on Raw? Graves.
So Kevin Patrick is the Irish interviewer man backstage. Never heard him commentate before. I like him as an interviewer. I think
he commentate one episode of Raw when Jimmy Smith wasn't there, and I think we rumored he might have left Jimmy Smith, but he came back next week.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think you might be right, but
I think he did do one Raw.
I think this is the weakest, and of the 3 brands, I think this is the weakest duo. Definitely.
I guess Kevin Patrick, let's just give him a chance. He might be all right.
Yeah, but him and Graves, 2-man booth. I do like that there's 2, but we'll see how it goes with those 2. Then SmackDown is my personal favorite one with Wade Barrett and Michael Cole. I think that will be a really good combination.
Yeah, Wade Barrett is really good.
He can add a similar vibe to what McAfee had with Cole, I feel. Not quite as excitable, but very good. Very good. And I think Barrett being back on the main sort of roster scene is the right move. I think he's... Yeah, I think he was okay in NXT. I liked his stuff when he was talking about toxic attraction.
I tell you what, I enjoyed him and Vic Joseph way more than I thought I would. When that's on paper, Vic Joseph, Wade Barrett, I'm like, oh, whatever. But actually, I thought it was really good. Obviously, nowhere near the Michael Cole McAfee duo. But Vic Joseph is still on NXT, isn't he?
So and then NXT is Vic Joseph and Booker T is back officially on commentary. So he was.
I'm not sure on Booker T.
He is. I love Booker T as a guy. I think he's hilarious. When he was a wrestler, I liked him. On commentary, when he was on Raw, he was a bit all over the place sometimes. I think for NXT, he might be the right kind of fit. He might work.
That's a big change, though. I feel like Booker T is a real it just feels a real change of direction of commentary. Vic Joseph, I think, is actually really underrated. I think it's a really good commentator, Vic Joseph.
He is pretty good.
I'm a bit upset they've not found room for Nigel McGuinness, who was on NXT
he
UK.
Is one I thought that
He's really good.
When Pat was sort of announced to be not around for a while, so many people online were clamoring for Nigel McGuinness. They're like, well, why aren't you getting him? Because he's the best one available.
Yeah.
Whether or not there's some issues there with him, obviously,
because
in the UK
well, no, I don't think he ever was in the UK. So when on NXT UK towards the end, he was on commentary with, I can't remember, the guy lead announcer, Ben Andrews, maybe? I can't remember his name, but
yeah,
there was a lead announcer on NXT UK. But there's only ever one guy in the booth. The lead guy was only ever in the booth. So
yeah.
McGuinness was always virtual second commentator. So I don't think he was ever in the UK, McGuinness. I think he's always in the US.
In that case, yeah, I don't see any reason why they haven't got him. So I'm a bit surprised. Even if he was on NXT and not the main roster, I think that would have been cool. The other thing to sort of to say as well around this is Kathy Kelly is back, who was a very, very popular announcer. She left 2 or 3 years ago. She mainly worked in NXT before.
Yeah.
Obviously, Triple H obviously liked her as an announcer, was her boss before. He's brought her back. I think that's a smart move as well because she's very popular. So, and people already seem to be loving that one.
Yeah. Is Kayla Braxton still on SmackDown?
I think so. I haven't seen the full.
Because I just need some more Kayla Braxton, Paul Heyman interaction.
Yeah, I think Kayla and Megan Morant are still on SmackDown. I think Kathy Kelly might be on Raw, maybe.
Yeah, because it was Kevin Patrick on Raw, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I think she's replacing him, and I think maybe you got Byron there as well.
Yep.
And Sarah Schreiber, possibly.
Oh yeah, Sarah Schreiber.
So there's 2 or 3. I can't remember the full list of backstage interviewers. The commentary was the main thing that stood out. And Kathy Kelly's return because she, like I say, she's very popular. So yeah, overall, I think positive changes. And any freshening up of the product, I always like. I don't think you want it to get too stale on commentary. So I think freshening it up makes a lot of sense, actually. So yeah, I'm overall happy with this. It's Raw, I'm a little bit skeptical, but the rest of them I think will be good.
Yeah, I think for me, Booker T is the only one that I have a bit of question over, but we'll see. We'll give him a chance. Like I say, I think NXT might be good for him. So
I think in NXT might be the right kind of fit. Yeah. And that's it really for this week for news.
Yeah, well, let's get into the actual shows themselves.
There was some AEW stuff, but we won't talk about that on this because it's a WWE only podcast today. We did AEW with it last week, but we're not going to do that this week. So
well, we may be seeing one of them back in WWE soon. If he gets his way, Andrade.
Yeah, but by the looks of it, that's why I think that's what he's trying to do.
Absolute chaos in AEW right now. It
really is
mental backstage.
It's more interesting than the actual product right now.
It is.
Anyway, let's get to the action, so to speak. So we'll start with SmackDown.
Yeah, and we opened with that tag match, Sami Zayn and Solo Sikoa, Ricochet and Madcap. Yeah. Decent enough match. Just, I think we said it before, but Solo is an absolute star. He's going right to the top, I think. He is, I think we've always said who's the guy to beat Roman, and I think Solo Sikoa's gone right up in the betting for that. I would put him second favorite behind Cody Rhodes as the guy to beat Roman Reigns. I think that much of him.
That's a big call, but I think he is. I think he is getting a big push, and he's very good. And he's obviously impressed early on to be getting these big matches. But I feel it really helps him working as well with his older brothers. Obviously, he's going to have great chemistry with them. And they're very, very experienced. They've been in WWE for like 10, 11 years. Roman Reigns, the top guy in the business, basically. And then Sami Zayn, who is an incredible veteran of like 15 years as well. So he's working in a group with top people as well, which obviously I think helps him massively. In NXT, though, even on his own, he did stand out as pretty good.
Yeah, he was one of the better NXT guys. Yeah.
Exactly. So he's obviously a natural, like most members of that family seem to be. It's just... You can go on and on and on. There's literally 20, 30 of them that you could name.
They're all amazing.
But the match was really good. And I love it when what I love at the moment is the continuity, like setting up matches the week before. You know what matches are going to be on SmackDown this week because they just make sense. Or Raw.
Well, it is. And I think we actually have a match announced for this Friday SmackDown where after the match, Solo kind of snapped and had a little attack on Madcap. So I think we have Solo v Madcap announced for SmackDown tomorrow off the back of this. So that's continuing. And again, I think we said it last week, and I'll probably say it again this episode of this podcast, but the flowing of people in storylines, like, it's just great to see. And the use, I think right now, they are utilizing their roster so well. Like, it's not the biggest roster in the world.
With a few exceptions, I would say there are a few guys that could be being used a little bit more, and I'm surprised they're not. And we'll get to one of those guys who did get on Raw this week, and I thought was fantastic.
Yes, I know
who hasn't been used. But there's a few others as well where I think, they could be being used better. One of them we'll actually probably get to later on SmackDown, actually, as well. He's on TV, but not. I'm a bit baffled by the booking, but these guys have all been booked really, really well. I feel like Ricochet as well has had really good matches, been utilised pretty well since Triple H come back. He hasn't been winning much. I think he did win a couple of matches at the start, though. Beat Corbin.
Yeah, he beat Corbin. Yeah.
Madcap Moss is fine in the role he's in. I think. I don't think he's ever going to get a mega push.
He is just Mr. Generic babyface right now. Madcap Moss.
He needs more of a character, doesn't he?
He hasn't got much direction, but he's just. He's involved with the bloodline loosely, so it's not a bad place to be for him.
No, and this match, like I said, was really good. Sammy and Ricochet, they've had loads of bangers and they have good chemistry in the ring. The match ended with a sneak tag from Solo Sikoa, and then he helped Sami Zayn and then got the win. There's a beatdown afterwards, and what I loved here is, so the story was that they came to, it was weird seeing the bloodline so light because you had them on Raw the previous Monday with Paul Heyman. Oh no, it might have been SmackDown the week before, on the Friday actually. You had 6-person entrance, and I mentioned it was cool with Heyman, Usos, Roman. Everyone was there. Here, you literally just had Solo and Sammy representing the bloodline. It was in Canada, I believe, and I think Jimmy Uso, can't go there because of his DUI situation.
Yeah.
So obviously they left Jimmy at home, but they kind of said the Usos aren't here; they're taking the night off. But what I loved is they added a storyline bit to this that Jay turned up anyway, because he didn't trust Sami Zayn being there with Solo Sikoa.
And there was interactions there backstage in the locker room where Jay was like, "I see through you, I don't trust you." Sort of thing.
Basically, because they go into the locker room and Jay's there, and they're like, "Well, what are you doing here?" And he's like, "I've come to see my brother just to check he's all right." Solo goes into the locker room, and then that's when he says that to Sammy, and Sammy brilliantly says back, "Take it with Roman. I'm trying to get into our locker room," making it clear that he's part of the, he's, whether he likes it or not, he's part of the family now.
Yeah, and there was another interesting interaction later on in the show where Sammy was kind of sat in the hallway, looking a bit deflated, like not in the main locker room. I don't know what that meant, but Kevin Owens walked past.
Yes, I was going to get to this later on. So there was a bit later on where KO interacts with Sammy, and KO just said, "You need a new shirt," which I thought was brilliant because KO was wearing a shirt that he wore in 2016 as Kevin Owens, and Sami Zayn's had that shirt a week. Yeah, it was KO. I thought that was just a brilliant little detail.
Well, and just keeping this little flicker flame, because we thought we were getting I think you're probably leading the way in saying we were going to get KO and Sammy v the Usos.
I think we will get there,
but that's not anytime soon, is it? Sami Zayn.
I think they'll save. I honestly, I think they might save it for WrestleMania. It's a WrestleMania caliber match, and I think you can burn this Sami Zayn out for another couple of months.
Yeah.
It might, the build might start at Survivor Series if the Bloodline are in the Survivor Series.
We have to get to a Sami Zayn Jey Uso match at some point. That has to happen.
Yeah.
Before we get to any tag team.
I think you can have, if the Bloodline are in Survivor War Games, which I'm assuming they are, you have Sammy costing the match accidentally. Jay blames him. The others slowly turn on him. By the Rumble, they've turned on Sammy. You could do Jey Uso versus Sami Zayn at the Royal Rumble. A beat down from the Bloodline afterwards. Kevin Owens makes a save. They make a match for WrestleMania. Perfect. That's like you could. It's not that far away now that you can drag this out to WrestleMania because the story's so good. And the turn hasn't happened yet. The thing is, we were talking about that with Dom and Ray. Could drag that out to Mania. The problem is, Dom turned on Ray while we were there. Over a month ago at Clash of the Castle. So it's a long way to go. But hopefully they can. I think Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens winning the tag titles from the Usos at WrestleMania could be a big storyline and one that everyone wants to see. Because realistically, Sami Zayn versus Roman Reigns, I don't think is going to happen. Because that's the only other option for me.
Yeah.
Sami Zayn has to have a big moment at the end of this. Otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah, he does.
And I think the Usos, it makes sense because of the beef with Jay. So, and they're the tag champs. So, and I don't see them losing it really either. No. I think the bloodline, they're going to keep the bloodline strong till Mania now, I feel.
Yeah, I think they have to. I agree.
So yes, that was that stuff.
Yeah, well, we mentioned Owens briefly there, so let's get into his participation on the show. We had Drew v Austin Theory originally. Ended in DQ with the Alpha Academy coming down.
Overly keen on all this.
Yeah, but this was to set up a match later. This is a WWE trope. They do this a lot. And I think Owens and Gargano came out. To back up Drew, and we led to this 6-man tag.
Very house show match. I'd put this as. It's where you throw 3 baby faces together against some heels, and you have a fun match in the main event. The baby faces stand tall, win the match. The good stuff on there. Stunners on the announce table. There was a KO and Gargano doing like super kicks on Otis on the outside. Loads of fun stuff in the match. But yeah, I was a little bit annoyed with the first DQ.
Yes.
And one of the people I was going to say not being booked, we've touched on this before. What is the booking of Austin Theory? Because he took the pin, I think, here as well, I believe. Yeah, Claymore to Theory, he took the pin. So you could have easily had Gable or Otis take the pin here. I don't know. They're having the money. I know they have the Money in the Bank guy lose quite a lot sometimes, but it does feel like it's getting a little bit too much now, to the point where you can't believe he could cash in. You just can't believe it anymore.
No, and also because of the person who's holding it, and he's got both belts. It doesn't seem believable right now. I mean, they're obviously trying to send us down that path of making it as unpredictable as possible by having the guy with the briefcase look like he's got no chance of winning the championship. They're going down that path. They do it almost every year with the Money in the Bank holder. I honestly don't know. I think Theory's trajectory has changed. I think Vince would have had a different trajectory.
He almost feels as well. I noticed on Raw, he has, and he called it the All Day Academy, and he had like an Alpha Academy style shirt on. I feel like he's just joined their faction now.
I feel like he's trying to take over the faction. That I'll get to Raw, but when he mentioned All Day Academy, I was like, well, that's gonna. I reckon that's gonna mean something. I reckon Chad Gable's gonna be like, "What the hell, man?" And then.
I would love to see a Chad Gable babyface turn on Theory. Yeah, that would be cool.
But... He could turn face with his "shush, please" and "thank you." Like exactly, fans love it.
Yeah, so you could definitely do that eventually. I think that would work. But it's just interesting. I just think the booking of Theory is very weird. But it wasn't Triple H to put the Money in the Bank briefcase on him, was it?
No, and he's got to find a way to get it off him, whether he wants him as champ or I don't know what his plans for the Theory are.
Yeah, I really don't think he's winning that title with that briefcase.
Like I say, it was in a very different role in NXT. And I think at the start when Triple H took over, we said you can overthink things with Triple H's booking. But I think he's basically gone very much back to his NXT booking style with the people he's brought back, to changes he's made. Like, I just feel like everything he's done, I think you probably could have predicted it. Like, you could have predicted he would have made NXT go back to like a black and gold.
Yeah, we'll get to that later.
Coloring. Yeah,
I don't really
completely changed, but like he's people he's brought back Gargano, featured him well. Ciampa had a good run at the start. Like he's doing things. I think if you're writing down what are 10 things Triple H would do as he took over, I reckon you could probably.
I think the thing is, I think he's done that, but I do think he's also done things that necessarily weren't Triple H things. Like, I don't see Braun Strowman as a Triple H thing. I don't see the potential return of Bray Wyatt as necessarily a Triple H thing. So I think he's got that, and like Logan Paul's involvement in the title scene, like that's something Vince would do. So I think what he's trying to do, and I think he's doing a good job of it, is pleasing his NXT niche indie style fans, but also attracting them. Daniel Cormier is a prime example of this as well.
Yes,
big star to come in and to keep the mainstream attention, but also have his little Dakota Kai's, Johnny Gargano's, Candice LeRae's. A perfect mix. Whereas Vince wasn't interested in enough in the wrestling and the Johnny Garganos and these people. He was too much interested in the casuals. I think you need a good balance of both. And I think Triple H at the moment is nailing that overall. Yeah, with a few mistakes here and there, everyone's going to make. Yeah, but overall, I think he's doing a perfect job. Whereas I think Vince was too casual. I think Tony Khan is too wrestling. almost.
Yeah.
I think Triple H is trying to find the perfect balance, and that's why at the moment I'm really enjoying it, because that's what I want. I want brilliant wrestling, but I also want the over the top sports entertainment stuff as well, like, and the big stars and the big occasion and all this kind of stuff. And I think he's doing a lot of both of them. But yeah, so that was a bit of a tangent, but Theory's booking is a bit odd.
Yeah, I think that's a fair comment. I think that's a fair comment. And after the match, we had Drew hit Theory with the strap in the lead up to his strap match.
Oh yeah,
at Extreme Rules in just a few days, isn't it? Saturday night Extreme Rules.
Yeah, so we did also get a little promo from Karrion Kross earlier in the night. Should probably mention that. So
yeah,
there's another one of his sort of backstage style promos. I like the presentation of them. What was interesting here is he also did warn Roman Reigns.
Yes.
So I don't think they're teasing that for that match not to happen.
That match feels like a weird match to book. So I feel like Roman will get cheered big time in that, and I don't think that's what they necessarily
it's heel versus heel. But yeah, I feel like they're teasing it almost too much for it to not happen. I don't think I think they're doing it on purpose.
Yeah, you might be right. Something else I want to talk about is, I think we're finally getting.
This is what I was going to mention as well.
LA Knight. Max Dupree cut ties with Mace and Mansoor, trying to break the world record for the longest pose. And you had interactions like Kevin Owens walking past.
Nakamura was there.
Nakamura, yeah.
For some reason, I didn't see it coming that Max Dupree was going to be the guy that ruined it. I don't know why. I didn't see it coming. I should have seen it coming, because at the start he's like, funny about it. They're doing this pose, and then he hits Mansoor at the end, or Mansoor, or whatever you want to call him. And then says, he was dressed in like just normal clothes. He wasn't in the Max Dupree style glasses and everything. I think on the season premiere of SmackDown, new start for LA Knight, and we finally get. And again, this is perfect. I'm glad this wasn't happening under Vince McMahon. He would have ruined this, and he would have been released.
The thing I mean with Triple H is he's basically reverting everything back to how he was wanted. He's not sticking with what Vince was. He's like, no, I'm making him back to LA now. I'm not having him in this weird faction. And, I'm not doing. Yeah. He with the Veer Mahan thing. No, I'm not interested. I'm putting him back in his tag team. He wasn't before. He's just reverting everything back to how he wants it. And I think that's what you should do if you're in charge. I don't think you should.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Stick with
if you've had LA Knight in NXT and seen how popular he was and how good he was, and then you see him in this crap gimmick on the main roster, you're not going to keep him in that. And LA Knight clearly was unhappy with that gimmick.
And what's good is he'll turn babyface, and he's got at least 2 matches straight up Mason Mansoor.
Yeah, well, Mason Mansoor matches straight
wins.
Away. Yeah.
Against.
It wouldn't surprise me on Friday if we get a quick LA Knight Mansoor match. LA Knight wins it in 2 minutes. And then Mace tries to beat him up. He beats up Mace. And then the week after, we can do LA Knight v Mace. Go a little bit longer because Mace is quite big. And then you can start something from there.
Yeah. Start
a proper feud with someone else down the line. I can imagine him facing Corbin or someone like that.
Corbin seems probably about right,
Yeah. Like a mid-card heel level type feud. But yeah, I'm excited for LA Knight to come back. Absolutely.
Yeah, 100% agree. And just speaking of really over baby faces, Sheamus come out on his own, because we had with the hurricane, I think, prevented a few people being on on the show. The 2 Damage Control members, apart from Bailey, weren't on the show, and also the 2 Brawling Brutes weren't on the show. Sheamus come out on his own and gets absolutely decimated.
Yeah, this angle was. I thought this was the best thing on SmackDown. Actually, I would say. Obviously, the Sammy J stuff was good. LA Knight tease was great. This angle was really, really good. I really enjoyed this. So it just starts off with Imperium. Gunther cutting a promo, which he doesn't speak too much, but when he does, it feels like he means it, which I like. Sheamus comes out like alone, like you said. Gets in the ring, puts his weapons. He takes out with the shillelagh, takes out Imperium, gets in the ring. And then they start having a brawl, but then Imperium get back in the ring, hold him down, chops, power bombs, completely leave him. But what I loved as well was that when they left, Sheamus was like, "Is that all you've got?"
Yeah,
come back in, and I can't wait for the match tomorrow, because the one we saw live at Clash was an incredible match. if they give it time tomorrow, I don't think it's going to be as good as the Clash match because it's a TV match, not.
Oh, it's still going to be so good. I mean,
it will still be great.
We don't predict SmackDown matches often, but I don't know which way this one's going to go.
Well, we won't talk about too much about our Extreme Rules predictions because we'll be doing them at the weekend, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think this match could impact my prediction for the 6-man quite dramatically. So I need to wait until I see what happens on SmackDown.
Yeah.
And I don't know which way it's going to go because Sheamus, and that is that title that he's missing. And he is very popular right now. They could decide to switch it.
I just feel like Gunter
would leave it on Gunter.
Too good to not. But basically, if Gunter's not going to be IC champ, he should be going for the main title. Like he shouldn't be just in a random feud, and I don't see him lose it and still chasing Sheamus. So I would personally have Gunter win, but I don't know which way they're going to go. And that's what I
agree with you. I would stick with Gunter having it for now, till at least like Rumble's time, and then if you want to do something with him huge for WrestleMania, like I would love them to do Brock versus Gunter. Sorry,
yeah.
Like if Brock's going to be at the Rumble by all accounts, by the looks of the posters and stuff, he's on them, isn't he? I would love it if they set up a Gunter Brock Lesnar match.
Yeah,
by having Gunter eliminate Brock like they did with Drew, but not a title match. Just have it, have it out, and just have this banger of a match. I think that would be perfect. To do for WrestleMania. I can't think of a better match for Brock to have, to be honest. He's already had like Lashley, he's already had Drew, he's already had, do you know what I mean? If you're going to do a Brock match at Mania, which I think they will, I think Gunter, you keep him strong, have him lose in a multi-man match or something at the Rumble, or before the Rumble, just before the Rumble maybe, so that he doesn't get pinned. He just loses the title. You could do Sheamus. You could literally do like Sheamus, Gunter, like Solo Sikoa maybe, because he'll probably want to go for it because he's not in the bloodline, and like Ricochet or someone in the match, something like that. And then you have Sheamus maybe take the title, carry it to Mania, and then you can keep Gunter strong and then do that. That's what I would love to see, something like that. But yeah, this angle was really, really good, I thought.
Yeah, I think everything they've done with
everything they've done
amazing.
With this feud has been perfect, basically.
Yeah, I mentioned briefly Damage Control weren't there in terms of Dakota and Io, but Bayley was on her own, and we got the Bayley Shotzi match.
And what else was there? Was Shotzi's tank. We mentioned it the last couple of weeks that it was coming, there. And it is finally there. And
another thing, Triple H is like, no, I'm not having Shotzi how she is. I'm turning her back face. I'm bringing her tank back. I'm having her how I want her, how I present her. The
presentation was fine. Why did it have to? Yeah, it didn't make any sense.
It's a weird thing to get rid of. You know, how many people have ever had a tank before? So just keep it. Like, it's so unique. But actually, a really good match. I thought this one, Bayley and Shotzi.
It was. They gave Shotzi quite a lot of offense and actually made her look good in the match. They didn't have Bayley just destroy her. Bayley in the end did win it with the rose plant quite clean, then hit another one after the match. She put Shotzi in between a ladder, but then Bianca Belair was there to make the save. Bayley attempted to do the rose plant on Belair, and then Belair tried to counter it in the KOD, which was really cool, but Bayley just about got away in the end. But really this match was to build to obviously Bayley and Belair. But Shotzi at least is getting some TV time and looks credible, you know.
Yeah.
She didn't look well below the level, did she?
No, not at all. And there's a bit more build on Raw a lot more build on Raw for the women's match, which I think is actually one of the better matches on the card, in my opinion. I think it's really strong.
Been main eventing, because Damage Control have been all over Raw. Main event in it. Let's continue on the theme of the women. And talk about Ronda Rousey and Liv Morgan. Ronda facing Natalya, which is a match we've seen quite a lot. And the match was fine. Ronda wins via submission, obviously. And then Liv Morgan come down with a baseball bat. They have a bit of a brawl. Piper's pit on the outside, and then they did this classic security pulling apart brawl thing. It was all right.
It's what you want for that. You had to go into Extreme Rules match. Just have them where they can't take their hands off each other, want to destroy each other. I love a little spot with the Piper's pit where she hit it and then the bat flew into the ring. Just I don't think it was meant to. I don't think it was meant to do that. It looked cool, just looked cool. No, it's that. But yeah, I mean, that definitely is giving that match a bit more heat now. I wasn't that fussed on this match, I have to admit, until this. And I think
the reason I'm not into it is because I've seen it twice already, and Liv's that first one really damaged
I think the fact that this is Extreme Rules, I think this could be a bit different. This one, I think this could be a much better match than we. I mean, not that the matches. I also think
it really opens it up for interference, and I think there's definitely going to be interference in this.
It does. We haven't seen Shayna for a few weeks.
Shayna Baszler, Charlotte Flair. There's options. There's options there. There's definitely options there. I can see one of those two, if not both of them, interfering in this match.
Yeah. Yeah, you can well be right there.
I think you could easily have Shayna try and help Ronda. Then you could have Charlotte maybe come in and counter that. Or you might not have Charlotte and you might just have Shayna, or you might just have Charlotte go for Ronda. There's so many options you can do. But I honestly think that this match will not be a clean, like, one-on-one match. I know we said that as well at Clash when it was Shayna versus Liv, didn't we?
Yeah, it was.
But it ended up being. But with Ronda, it's different because I can't see Lynn having Liv beat Ronda clean. So you either put in the title on Ronda, or you're having Liv shenanigans again, which I don't think helps her at all.
Yeah, I just don't know. I don't know if Ronda Rousey is the right opponent. If you want to, if your plan is to give Liv a strong run and make her look good, I don't think Ronda Rousey is the right opponent for her. Keep Ronda, do a Ronda Shayna story and have Liv face a resurgent Shotzi or just someone else. I just think there's other options there. And the other thing on the show was Hit Row beat Los Lotharios in a match.
Yeah, that was again, sort of a couple of weeks build from the last couple of weeks for a random match like this. Match is okay.
I mean, we've said about Triple H what he's done, and I'm not against the Hit Row signing because I quite like them as a group, but they don't really have much direction. They just feel a bit like, obviously his plan wasn't to bring Hit Row in and have him feud with Los Lotharios for a few weeks.
I've got a feeling we might be seeing their next feud set up on Friday. I've got a feeling that we might be seeing a certain group called Up.
Legado.
They feuded with them in NXT, didn't they? Because that was when B-Fab had a match with Elektra Lopez.
Yeah,
they can run that back.
That's what got my
they can run it back.
Yeah.
It was funny actually. Tyler was talking the other day about B-Fab had a match the other day.
Yeah,
her first match. She had I think it was a tag match with Natalia. But yeah,
I mean, I'm sure she's improved. I'm sure she's been working hard in the ring. Yeah, but
I wouldn't surprise me because I've heard that apparently there's a good chance Legado will come into SmackDown rather than Raw. So it wouldn't surprise me.
See, I would actually put them on Raw, Legado. Although I say that Raw, I was about to say because I was thinking of Bloodline and Imperium, but then Raw's got Judgment Day, and so there's a few factions right now knocking about.
There is loads, and I love it, but
they're like, I just don't know where they fit in with Bloodline and Imperium. They just become the third biggest. Yeah, but I mean, heel factions become like the third biggest heel faction. I'd have them come in as faces on Raw, is what I would do, but we'll see.
And that was it, I think, from SmackDown.
Yeah, I think so. So let's move on to Raw, and I mean, we may as well. We mentioned them just a second ago, but Judgment Day. They're all over Monday Night Raw right now.
They are, yeah. Them and Damage Control feel like they kind of run the show.
The factions galore. So I feel tired tonight as well.
I don't know why I keep yawning.
It's been a long day. But we had Balor and Priest beat AJ and Ray on the show again. This AJ Judgment Day storyline continues, and another little twist here at the end where Ray got distracted by Dominic and left AJ in the ring on his own. Yeah, got beaten, and then AJ pushes over Ray.
Yeah, so they're kind of teasing that AJ heel turn, whether it's going to happen or not. I don't know if it will happen, but he's definitely getting annoyed by this whole situation.
I mean, for me, I just don't see where AJ fits into Bloodline. They've already got Priest, Dominic's a new addition, like Priest. Yeah,
it doesn't feel like they need another new member. AJ being kind of doesn't really seem to fit with me in that style. I love the idea of him and Finn Balor being in the same faction, of course.
Yeah.
But this faction, I'm not so sure. I don't think it needs to happen. And I know obviously the Ray Dominic match is the main match at the end of it. But in terms of the feud with Edge, I hope this is like the last match in the feud now. So it feels like it's been going on so long. Well, it has.
Yeah, I would like to see Edge move on after this. Yeah.
Well, WrestleMania was the start of the Judgment Day.
Yeah, that's where Priest.
And then it wasn't that long after that they turned on Edge. So yeah, it feels like it's been going on for a long time now. So I hope this is coming to an end a little bit after Balor v Edge, which I'm sure will be fantastic. To be fair, the match here was good enough. Rhea getting involved, taking out Ray on the outside. She's really getting involved. She's not wrestling at all in the women's division at the moment. I don't know. I remember she wasn't cleared at one point.
Yeah, that is the one thing to me they've just dropped the ball on. She was number one contender, had a match lined up.
But
and they've
you could argue her role at the moment is actually more beneficial.
Yeah, no, I love what she's doing.
She's kind of beating up blokes.
I would have just liked them to just at least acknowledge it. Like, I just think,
they should.
I can't believe that the Rhea Ripley character, how she is, I just can't believe she would just let a title shot go. She's, I don't care about that.
They should have addressed it.
Just feels weird.
You're right. I do think her though, she kind of feels like the China role at the moment on the show, where she's kind of beating men up. She's got, male faction around her, which is what Chinese
I actually don't think she should be anywhere near the title picture. In a general rule, but just the fact that she had a title,
especially if you're not putting the belt on her, because then she'd have to lose. I think her in this role at the moment is kind of perfect. I wouldn't mind seeing her wrestle occasionally and having matches and just squashing people. Like, you could just put her in there with like Dana Brooke or Tamina or someone, and just have her beat them like 2 minutes. I wouldn't mind seeing that just every now and then, just to keep her winning matches as well alongside it. But yeah, I don't think she should be involved in a women's title at the moment, because I feel like she's in a kind of a bigger storyline in a way.
Yeah,
and in a storyline that keeps her special rather than every other woman's in a woman's title storyline. So I feel like this keeps her kind of special, which I like.
Yeah. Should we move on to the United States Championship match? You mentioned earlier about someone being given who hasn't been booked.
For me, was the best thing that happened on Raw. I thought this was awesome.
Yep, I'd agree with that.
Raw, I didn't think was as strong this week as it has been recently. I didn't think it was a bad show by any means, but I thought it just kind of, it didn't have that many talking points. It was just kind of, happened. But this
kind of same as SmackDown. It was kind of a
it was a bit of I feel like these premieres, they're setting up for these premieres. And you've got
we've got two big shows coming up.
With DX as well, and that I feel like we're
everywhere.
I feel like we're setting up some big shows. But so Lashley was interviewed about his reign so far. Obviously, it's been 3 months now, and then he said he wants challengers that are hungry and have the hustle and desire.
I was like, is that a Cena hint?
I didn't know if he's hinting towards John Cena or not, but it might just be a coincidence. But then Mustafa Ali comes in. I was like, okay, here we go. He's not been, and he's one of the guys. He was the guy I mentioned earlier. He's the guy on Raw. He's one of those people who's not been utilised hardly at all. He had a couple of matches early on in the Triple H regime.
Yeah, they brought him back, and he was losing to Ciampa and just
it was still when he was kind of feuding with the Miz. Yeah. And he had some good matches, but this really, I thought, gave him a great showing in defeat. So he was like, I'm not taking no for an answer when it comes to a match, which I thought was good as well. Kind of was like demanding a match.
Yeah.
And then he had a great match with Lashley. And what I loved about it is no matter what happened, he was refusing to be beaten, basically. He nearly got counted out on the outside. He got in at 9. Like, he wouldn't tap out. He wouldn't get pinned. He was kicking out of everything. And then in the end, he passes out in the hurt lock.
Yeah.
Because he won't tap, which I love as a finish for someone that of his character, with that kind of never give up kind of mentality. I thought it worked perfectly for him, and I thought this got him over in defeat, and hopefully
it did.
He's on Raw next week and a week after and a week after, rather than keeping him off TV.
I think there was an embrace maybe backstage that one in the show with Lashley basically saying, respect.
So after the match as well, we got the angle. So they went to shake hands, but then Lashley got attacked by Rollins, and then Rollins also did the stomp to Ali, which I thought was significant because now Ali's got a case to come after.
And also, Rollins is, again, we talk about people with fingers in pies. Seth Rollins is throwing his fingers
he's pissing everyone off, isn't he?
Yeah.
And he's obviously then set up a match for next week.
Again, this is so good because Seth has got like a clear feud. He's got a fight pit match with Riddle. It's been going on for ages. That's his clear feud right now, but he's getting so involved in the US title picture. Like, you just don't know. And like that match on Monday, Seth could be US champion. Like, I just don't know.
I actually think he might win. I've got a funny feeling he might win it.
And just also, of all the things Triple H has done,
all Ali cost him.
Yeah, of all the things Triple H has done since taking over, my favorite thing he's done is make these middle titles significant. Yes. The two feuds or matches we have this next week are Gunther and Sheamus and Seth and Lashley.
Yeah, they can be world title matches.
That is unbelievable for the middle tier title. You know, you go back to when Vince was in charge and we were getting nothing like this for the title. Like, it was nowhere near this level. You were seeing Nakamura hold it and not appear on TV for months on end. Like,
yeah, and Apollo Crews and Big E like going back and forth for the Intercontinental for a while and stuff. And then Sami Zayn had it, and then it was all right, but didn't feel big.
Yeah, this is they both feel huge, and we have given a lot of praise to Sheamus for banger after banger after banger. I think we need to also
Bobby Lashley.
Same thing for Bobby Lashley.
Well, I've said it. I think he's having the best run of his career. I've said that multiple times.
He is. I mean, we'll probably do an end of year special like we did end of last year. We talk about Superstar of the Year, and I think Lashley is in that contention. I think he's been that good this year. He has been so good, and as a babyface, who'd have thought Lashley would have got over as a babyface?
Yeah, and the thing is, he's not doing that much talking. He's doing short interviews, short promos, but then just putting on great matches with
his wrestling standard. He's never been a bad wrestler, but it's just got to another level this last.
Yeah, it feels like he's on the best run
he's
ever been on. It's really, really good. And like I said, this match was fantastic, and I love the finish. I love the finish of Ali passing out, and I hope it leads to Ali getting more TV time. I would love to see maybe if Rollins does win the title, the first US title feud being Rollins versus Ali, because that could be like
again
match.
Ali is a guaranteed good match. No matter who he's in the ring.
I can't believe he hasn't. I can't believe he hasn't been used more. It's criminal.
He's someone, by the way, I wouldn't be against if they pushed him into NXT and just put him at the top of the card in NXT. Ali.
Yeah.
If they can't find room for him on Raw, they haven't done for a little while.
I just felt they've got to. I think they've got to.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think he's so good. He has his start-top pushes. I think he was meant to be, like when Kofi had that moment, to think that was originally meant to be Ali and he got injured. Things could have been so different. So different. You could have had Ali beating Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania and then becoming WWE champion.
Yeah, Ali was
like genuinely that could have happened, I think. And then since that, it's just not happened for him. But he is still great.
Yeah, I know. And what the good thing with Ali is he puts his all into whatever he's given. Like the Retribution stuff was rubbish on paper, but he really tried his hardest to make it work. Like he's a real, like, there's not many of those people around that just put their all into everything they're given. And Ali is one. No matter what, no matter how bad it is, he will just go for it.
Absolutely.
But after this beatdown, we then had Riddle come out and they were told there was a no contact rule, Riddle and Seth. And these two got very personal yet again on the mic. Obviously, Seth tried to incite Riddle to hit him, so the match be called off.
Yes, he was going in on his family and his kid together. He was last time. He was getting really close to his face as well, right in his face.
Riddle, this attitude from Riddle again. This is no bro stoner joking around on a scooter. This is serious cage fighter Matt Riddle we're seeing here. This I just love to see it. Yeah. Also, by the way, they showed us the fight pit. I know we've seen it before in NXT, but it looks brutal, doesn't it? I
love this video package because it did put it over to the main roster audience, because it's all right saying, oh yeah, we're having a fight pit match, but if you haven't watched NXT, you probably don't really know what it is. So this video package I thought was a smart move to have it there. And it did make it look really cool as well.
Yeah, I think it looks brutal.
And this match is going to be amazing. And Daniel Cormier adds to that as well, the importance of it. Feels big time. He is a legitimately like big UFC fighter.
Yes.
Well, where do you think this is going? Because I've seen
a lot
of people say
Brock, didn't he?
He had a real life like feud with Brock. Yeah, he fought Brock, and a lot of people are saying maybe they're going to set up something for Ground Jewel, because Brock does obviously normally have a match in Saudi Arabia. Could you see maybe some sort of like, I don't think he'll get involved in the match necessarily, Brock, but maybe you can see Cormier at the end celebrating with Seth and then Brock confronts him or something like that. I
think we have got more chance of seeing Cormier v Riddle.
Right, yeah.
Is my take on this. So I think I saw on Twitter, so it may be right, maybe wrong, but that apparently Seth is the one that contacted Cormier. Like it wasn't WWE that contacted Cormier. Seth contacted Cormier to get him in. And I just think if you get Cormier in for a match, I don't see where Brock fits into this storyline really. Like if it would feel a bit like forced if he gets involved somehow in it. I think maybe he costs Riddle the match and Riddle gets annoyed and then we move on to Riddle Cormier. I don't know. Maybe have another fight.
It feels this doesn't feel like the Jeff Jarrett one where he refereed the special match and for no reason and he didn't do anything. This feels like he's there for a reason, doesn't it? Which I prefer. That Jeff Jarrett one was so unbelievable.
That is pointless. So bonkers that happened.
Yeah, that was so unbelievably pointless. But yeah, this was, I mean, awesome. And then Seth knocked Riddle's hat off as he walked off. And Cormier actually came on screen and cut a promo briefly as well on this.
Yeah.
So this was pretty cool. I thought it was a good segment. Yeah.
Probably the match I'm looking forward to the most, actually, I reckon, at Extreme Rules.
Probably. And it's one of those, like, any match could main event the show.
Yeah. This is one thing I was thinking.
Biggest, but I don't know.
Just like logistically, what do they do with the fight pit? Do they set up after? Do they take down the ring and set up the fight pit? Or is the fight pit in the main arena? I don't know what they do with this. Or
I don't know what they did.
Or the fight pit next to the ring? I don't know what they do. Yeah, I can't remember what
do they do what they do with the cage where they just have it above the ring and they bring it down? I'm not sure.
Yeah, but the ring's not involved in the fight pit. Is it? Or is it?
Yeah, it's still a ring there, right?
Yeah, but there's no ropes or anything. They just take off the turnbuckles and ropes and just put I just don't know how they're going to do it. Like, logistically, I don't know whether it makes more sense to put it. And I think also we talk about
they'll probably have it at the end then, I reckon.
Yeah, when we talk about the match order, maybe there's something that might play into the match order.
Are you talking about White Rabbit here?
And that is where the White Rabbit, or can we say Bray Wyatt yet? Or it's not.
It is Bray Wyatt.
I am 99% sure. But wherever Bray Wyatt comes back, that will probably close the show. And I think that could come in the women's title match.
Oh, that's an interesting
because
of Alexa Bliss.
We'll quickly jump onto the main event because we got Alexa Bliss against Io Sky, which as a main event was a bit odd main event really for a Monday Night Raw. I think Alexa Bliss main evented last week. I think it was either last week or Bailey last week.
Yeah, recently.
And Alexa, so there was an attack backstage on.
Yeah, and this is interesting because Asuka was really injured here.
Yeah, they took out
as in not really injured in real life, as in really injured. Like they really took her out and she was screaming and crying.
Yeah, and Alexa Bliss kind of looked into the camera and looked a bit evil.
Oh, she was pissed off, yeah.
Yeah, but this was like...
there was also, I believe, when they were talking backstage, there was a little flash thing behind Alexa of The Fiend or Bray Wyatt. There was like a little...
And I think when we saw them walking backstage, either just Alexa and Asuka or Bianca with them, the QR code flashed up on the screen at that point. And I don't know if it's all linked, but
it could easily be.
I think it was last week during Alexa Bliss's match, the lights dimmed and then come back on for a bit. And I just feel like it might Alexa, because obviously this is a ladder match. We're going to get all of these 6 women involved. There's no way you're not getting Damage Control involved. There's no way you're not getting Alexa. And if Asuka's injured, maybe Asuka, maybe not. Maybe
well, I think Candice LeRae
maybe lead into War Games or something. But
I think Candice LeRae is the obvious person to slot in.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. We also had Candice v Dakota, which is a really cool match from Monday Night Raw. We had that on the show as well, which I think actually backstage during that match is when the injury took place. But I think maybe Alexa comes down here and Bray. I don't really know where Bray Wyatt fits into women's title picture. It seems a bit weird, but Alexa Bliss seems to be doing something. There seems to be some link with Alexa Bliss to this White Rabbit. I don't know whether
it would be interesting because obviously Alexa Bliss and Bray Wyatt have massive links from there just before Bray got released, and Bray did interestingly. There was the QR code was a picture of I can't remember what they're called. Is it Samson and Delilah or something? And it's a thing where she betrays. It's something from the Bible, I think, where she betrays him, and Bray put the same picture up when Alexa turned on Bray at WrestleMania or something like that. So that's not a coincidence that that's linked. But yeah, I'm intrigued where Bray comes in, because I thought the White Rabbit thing was more likely to happen in Finn Balor versus Edge. Purely because I could see them doing it, because Edge hasn't faced Bray Wyatt before, and I thought that would be something to bring him back for.
Could it also happen in Karrion Kross, Drew?
It could. There's so many options. Karrion Kross v Bray feels like it could happen easily,
or just part of his if there's a stable. Because also another clue here, there's something to do with Gacy, wasn't there?
Yeah, but I think that's a red herring.
Yeah, so like
there's been loads of red herrings.
People maybe Joe Gacy's being part, and I wouldn't be against the little faction of like
I don't want Joe Gacy Dexter he just feels like Bray Wyatt light to me anyway. I just feel like he'd be pointless. It'd be too similar.
Yeah, I hope he doesn't bring.
I think there's been loads of red herrings. So one of the links had some lyrics and it was Aleister Black's theme music, and it's not Aleister Black. Like there's been like stuff like, and there was one thing about Corbin on there as well. It was like, there's some red herrings to throw you off, but most of the clues lead to Bray Wyatt. There was a sign on SmackDown as well where it said, is it revel in who you are, or whatever it said?
Oh yeah, wasn't there a thing of White Rabbit but spelt wrong? But it's like an anagram of Bray Wyatt.
Yeah,
it's like WYTT, whatever it was. Yeah, but it was like
so most of the clues point at Bray Wyatt, and I'm pretty sure it is Bray Wyatt, but we just have to wait and see.
Extreme Rules is happening on Saturday, isn't it?
Oh yeah, from what I've heard from sources or whatever online, is that the reveal is going to happen one way or another at Extreme Rules, whether he's there in person, whether it's on the screen. I don't know, but something with White Rabbit is going to be revealed on Saturday. I can't wait because I love Bray Wyatt, and I'm pretty sure it's him.
I am so excited. I
think Triple H won't do him dirty either.
Yeah,
that's the good thing about it.
This Extreme Rules, probably not because we were there, but this is up there with.
The card's amazing
in terms
and
of
it's got
excitement. I'm so hyped for this.
Going back to the women's situation, it was interesting because obviously they wiped out Asuka, and then at the end of Raw, so the closing angle of Raw was a cool angle where they beat up. So obviously you had Io v Alexa as the main event. Io hits the moonsault to win. Then they beat up Alexa Bliss. Asuka comes down hobbling with a kendo stick, but gets beaten up as well. And to me, what they were playing up was Belair won't have Asuka and Alexa as help. I know you said that you're expecting Damage Control and them to get involved.
Yeah.
I thought they were playing up that Alexa won't even be there at Extreme Rules with Asuka because they're too hurt. But then you could do something else. Who else could even up the odds for Bianca? Sasha Banks and Naomi could come in. I've heard that as a theory. Because you think, the heels are going to have that 3-on-1, basically. Damage Control are going to basically beat up Belair. Bailey thinks she's going to have an easy win because Asuka and Alexa Bliss are out. Yeah. And then suddenly Sasha and Naomi come back, and that's where you can set up War Games in Survivor Series or whatever. That's another option. Yeah. I don't think Sasha and Naomi are coming back here, but it's a possibility. And the fact we're talking about all these different scenarios makes it so exciting.
And also, I don't know who's going to win this match.
No, I have no idea.
It's a hard one. Well, although we did get a very cool visual at the end of the Raw with
that made me think that Bailey's not winning that angle because. But
again, that's a Vinceism.
But I think
it's a different booker.
It is a general wrestlingism as well. Like I feel like it's wrestling booking.
General wrestling is Vince McMahon. Like the general wrestling rule is Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon dictated what happens in wrestling and the rules and everything. I feel like it's hard to say. If this happened under Vince, I'll say, oh yeah, Bailey's definitely losing. I would probably sway towards Belair still, but I do think there's something about having a women's faction with all the belts on them. I don't think we've seen that before.
No.
Like, I don't think Absolution ever had all the belts whatever. I just think...
Riot Squad never had any belts.
Yeah, exactly. So I think this is really interesting. And also, there's never been a...
The only thing we've had was when Sasha and Bailey were tag champs, and also Sasha was Raw Women's Champ, I think, at the same time. But that was only two people. It wasn't a faction.
Yeah, Bailey too.
No, it was Sasha, I think.
Sasha.
Or was it Bailey? It might have been. I can't remember. But we've had that before.
Yeah, we did have that, yeah.
But yeah, we've not had a really dominant faction. But it is very interesting. And I think a lot of the results on this show are quite unpredictable.
I think a lot of what's happening on WWE right now is unpredictable. You just have to... Like, it's got to that point. It's definitely for me that you just can't take your eyes off stuff because don't know what's going to happen. It's very unpredictable. I am personally invested in almost everything that's happening. Like even like the Dexter Lumis stuff, which feels very like lower level, but I am so intrigued.
I don't mind
Dexter
that.
Lumis
I don't mind it. And that was a very small part on this show, wasn't it? So Miz was calling Maurice. They're having a celebration next week on Raw, I think, on the season premiere.
Yeah, obviously Lumis involved,
and Dexter was lurking, and then he later on. Johnny Gargano. I like the touch of it being Johnny Gargano. Obviously, it's linked.
Yeah, he was like,
Dexter, Dexter, and he wakes Miz up, and Miz has got a picture of him and Lumis.
Yeah.
So something big's going to happen with that next week as well. We also had a contract signing on the show between. So we might as well talk about the rest of the women's stuff that was linked to this. So you had the contract signing between Belair and Bayley before the match as well. That set up the Io and Alexa match because obviously. You had the beating backstage. What I liked here is Bayley called back to a match 3 years ago at Hell in a Cell, or 2-3 years ago. I was like, wow.
Yeah, the KOD on a ladder.
Yeah, like I love callbacks that far back. Like they haven't forgotten it. I love that. And there was also Candice LeRae versus Dakota Kai, which, I mean, that's just NXT, isn't it?
It's a really cool match. That happening on Raw is so cool, I think. We've mentioned what's the name? Alpha Academy already in SmackDown, but they both had singles matches here. Otis and Johnny Gargano. And interested here, we actually got Gargano lose on Monday Night Raw. Not someone you need to keep undefeated, but his first loss to Otis. I
was surprised that he lost this quickly.
Yeah. I mean, a briefcase to the back from Theory and then Otis grabbing the win. So it's not the cleanest victory, but just to have Gargano take a loss, 3 weeks into his main roster run seems a bit.
Yeah, and I did want to say something about the clean victories, actually. They are massively overdoing the distraction finishes. That is my one criticism of Triple H match book, is he doesn't do the roll-ups much, he doesn't do DQs much. He did do a couple of weeks ago, but every match is a distraction finish. And I did write on my notes for one of these matches. I think it might have been by the end of Raw. I was just like, can we have one clean finish, please? Just like, it gets a bit much after a while. I think that's one criticism I have. Obviously, they find a way. They always want to find a way around to protect people all the time. And sometimes just have someone beat someone clean. Yeah. I get it. Sometimes you got to have distractions, but it is like every match at the moment. And I think it is a little bit overkill. Pretty much every match on Raw was a distraction finish, other than
there was one that wasn't.
Yeah, other than one.
And Gable.
Yes, so other than Strowman and Gable.
Can we just give some praise to sort of Chad Gable here for his rolling,
insanely good. How did he do that? I couldn't believe it.
Lifted Braun Strowman over his head.
That was mental.
The only person to do that before was Brock Lesnar to Braun Strowman. Second person ever to do that to Braun Strowman. Brock Lesnar, Chad Gable. Chad Gable is so good, so insanely good in ring competitor. This was again another really good match. Really enjoyed this one.
Yeah,
I'm still not fussed at all on Braun Strowman. Right now, I don't really.
Do you know what? I really like the match with Otis that he had. Yeah, and this match was all right as well. But it's not terrible, an interesting feud, is it? And it's not Gable and Otis's fault. I actually thought the video promo thing from Gable, by the way, was really cool as well. About him knowing
that was really cool.
But it's just, the problem is, you just know Braun's going to win every time, and it's not really very believable.
We then got...
What was interesting
was who was watching. I was going to do, yeah. Omos backstage, watching on. Omos v Braun is probably the only match that is a bit interesting for both Omos and Braun. I don't think there's anything they can do that interests me other than being against each other.
For Omos, certainly. For Braun, I think there are things we can do eventually, but that's an interesting match, and Braun should win, in my opinion.
Oh, Braun should destroy Omos, but we'll see. It's just a cool match.
That made it a little bit interesting. I did note that, and I was like, okay, that's got me interested a little bit. And the only other thing I think on Raw was there was Solo Sikoa versus Angelo Dawkins. So we had the Bloodline backstage. Sami Zayn was making Jimmy Uso laugh, and then Jay come in.
Brilliant.
Solo was trying not to laugh.
He had Solo. Solo couldn't keep a straight face.
Yeah, and then Jay wasn't impressed, and then they were like, right, let's get down to business. And then the Street Profits coming in. Montez Ford had his foot in a sort of cast.
Is that legit injury? Do you know?
It must be, yeah. If he's got his boot up like that, it must be a legit injury, which is a shame, because he's great, obviously. But Dawkins had a one-on-one match with Sikoa, who's everywhere at the moment. Sikoa gets the win.
Yeah, good match.
Which is fair enough, and that match was good. And I'm really liking Angelo Dawkins' work at the moment. I think he's been really good in the last few months.
Yeah.
So I just want to give him a bit of credit.
Yeah, it's been amazing.
And then I think that was it for Raw. So we'll just go through NXT quickly.
Let's go on to NXT then. And we'll start with a main roster team. We had started NXT actually with Pretty Deadly.
What did you make of this, Rome?
I mean, it was
the crowd seemed to hate it.
It was pretty funny.
I can't help but laugh at them.
Pretty Deadly. I love them. They're amazing. Come out all dressed up as like
judges.
Yeah, judges. And
talked in like old English, like Shakespearean.
Yeah.
English.
They got interrupted by the Brawling Brutes, Ridge and Pete Dunne.
No Sheamus here.
No Sheamus. To set up a NXT tag team title match at the end of the show.
Yeah.
And when it set up, I was like, how are they not going to have the Brawling Brutes win the tag team title belts? And I was like, what are they going to do with NXT tag team titles with Brawling Brutes as champs? Like, I couldn't think of a way they weren't going to win. But we got the interference from Imperium,
another sort of distraction finish.
And Pretty Deadly retain beating the Brawling Brutes.
They had a really good main event. It was a good NXT main event. Bruiserweight chance here. Pete Dunne being really over with the NXT crowd. It's not exactly surprising.
Yeah, I mean, I say this every week. I remember. I just want to give praise again to Ridge. Thought he looked really good again.
Yeah, I
think he's on absolute fire. Yeah,
he's talking a lot more on the mic and as well.
Having the best one of his career, Ridge Holland.
I mean, that's not difficult, but yeah,
it's not. No, it's not difficult.
Because he wasn't in. He did nothing in NXT really.
Yeah.
Before he was called up.
But he was with Pat McAfee for a bit, wasn't he? But yeah.
And then he did nothing early on apart from injure Big E, and now he's having a decent run now. Fair play to him, and he seems to have improved. So yeah. Fair play.
And then after the match, Pretty Deadly were confronted by Anofi and Malik Blade and Briggs and Jensen.
Yeah, for that's not particularly.
That to me shows a weak tag division.
Yeah, and the fact that
the
Brawling Brutes down there, but they have lost. Obviously, they've lost Imperium, they've lost the Legado del Fantasma, two fantastic.
And you have probably the best tag team, Creed Brothers, involved nowhere near the tag division right now.
Yeah, they're involved in a different storyline. So yeah, the tag division is not the strongest at the moment because of that, unfortunately. I think.
No.
You know what? It's a real shame that they got rid of Trent Seven because Mustache Mountain should have been having a tag run. Imagine that. I know Tyler Bates just had his title match, but now what are they going to do with Tyler Bates now? Right?
Yeah,
now they could have brought Trent Seven in like next week. And then had a really
you can't, the way they finished it on NXT UK, you can't have them go back as a team.
I know. One tag team they might introduce though, this is a little segue, which I quite like, will be Indus Sher.
Yes.
Could become a real impact in the tag division, I think, because Veer is really good. I think he's good enough in NXT. He should stand out.
Yeah.
And I agree. I've been saying for a while, I think Sanga's quite decent. Yeah. And I think they could be a really good tag team in NXT. And they've got something that not just NXT, but WWE in general was missing, which is monster tag teams. I mentioned them, but we haven't really seen anything since AOP where they've got two big guys.
Probably right. Probably the last one.
Where they destroy people. We've had tag teams where you've got one big guy and one smaller guy, or two smaller guys, or whatever, but you haven't had like a wrecking tag team really since AOP. And I think they could be a really good tag team like that. You could even put a manager with them like AOP did. Well, they had Malcolm Bivens before, didn't they?
Yeah.
So, I think you can go down that route with them. I think I'm glad to see them back together. So Sanga had a segment, didn't he, backstage with Quincy Elliott, was it? Was it Quincy Elliott?
No, he was with Nathan Fraser.
That's it, Nathan Fraser. It was. I'm getting my segments mixed up.
Yeah.
And then Veer comes back at the end, and they kind of stare at each other. But I think they're going to get them as a tag team, which is cool.
Yeah, all for it. We mentioned the Creed brothers, so we'll probably get into that because this is really interesting developments here. We had Julius Creed defeat Duke Hudson on the show.
What is Duke Hudson, by the way?
Oh, he's pointless. Yeah,
I thought Zion Quinn was a jobber. I called him a jobber last week because he keeps jobbing to people.
Yeah, he got a win this week.
But Duke Hudson is another guy, similar size, big guy.
Yeah,
And he just, oh my God, he got beaten in seconds there.
I know. Julius Creed is very good, but interesting.
Anyway, Julius Creed's great, yeah.
I don't know whether that so we'll get on to say Brutus Creed had some injuries on his back from the chair shots last week. They look pretty brutal. I don't know if they're real, whether that's kind of makeup on his back. I don't know, but it looks brutal. But after the match, we had Damon Kemp come out and challenge, or Julius challenged him. Talk about who challenged who, but they're having a match at Halloween Havoc.
Yeah.
And Julius was like, "Well, I don't mind. I'll put my career on. I'll put anything on the line to fight you," sort of thing. And Damon Kemp actually, so in the end, it's Brutus Creed's career on the line,
which is really interesting. And
so Julius is fighting for his brother in an ambulance match, which is just.
And I liked Damon Kemp's line at the end of "You can join Roddy," because Roddy's obviously.
Yeah, what's happened? What do you know what's happened to Roddy? Is he coming back? Is he injured? Is he?
I have no idea. I've not heard anything on him at all.
Yeah.
It's a weird one. I assume he will at least come back eventually.
He's still been mentioned on TV, so I assume he's not.
I feel like he's still mentioned in the storyline. Yeah. But one thing I will say is I think Damon Kemp has come into his own a little bit in this storyline, because I felt like he was just there in this group. Like, the Creed brothers are really over. Everyone likes him. Roddy Strong's like the longest reigning person in NXT at this point. Like, he's a star, and really.
Yeah.
And Julius was really standing out in particular, but the Creed brothers were looking really good. They've been tag champs. Damon Kemp was just kind of there. But I think his promo work in this feud has been pretty good. And I think he's actually stood out more than I thought he would. Because at first, when he was the one that attacked Roddy, I was like, well, so Damon Kemp's going to be like just on his own then. But actually, he's done good. But what I do think here was interesting is obviously you've got two of them and one of him. And I think I said it a couple of weeks ago, I can't see it not being an introduction for his brother. And there's two sets of brothers against each other. I think
that makes sense, doesn't it? That does make sense.
Two like amateur wrestling background sets of brothers. I can see that going all the way with that feud. I think Julius will win this match because I don't think his brother's getting fired.
No.
But then after that, we'll get the tag match between Kemp and his brother versus the Creed brothers. I can see that.
That would be amazing. Yeah.
I can see that happening. Maybe for a takeover if they do one.
Yeah, I think that could be really good. And one other thing from the tag team, actually the women's tag division, we had a number one contenders match. Nikita Lyons and Zoe Stark beating Toxic Attraction to become the number one contenders.
I feel like we're just waiting for Toxic Attraction to go up at this point. We're waiting for Mandy to drop the belt.
Which I think might happen at Halloween Havoc. Yeah.
So we're waiting. That's what we're doing, aren't we? Here.
Yeah. Toxic Attraction. Again, they don't need another title match, do they? They've been involved in the tag.
So I think the right team won here in that sense, because Nikita and Zoe are a decent team who is a fresh match.
And it's interesting one these two, because I don't think they were a team until the main roster tag team tournament. They put them together in that, and then they've just kept it going in NXT.
I quite like the way they finished matches, with Zoe doing that cool knee strike move she does, and then Nikita's like
Well, they're two people I don't think would be doing a lot else if it wasn't to be in a tag team. So I just keep them as a tag team. Yeah. And who's champions at the end of this? I don't really mind. I'm not really fussed who wins.
No, neither team of that.
Unfortunately, Caden and Katana have done next to nothing since
I was really wanting
tag
them to
team
get
champs,
belts, but
I
haven't done a lot with them. Although I did really like their promo video here, where they were talking about real stuff. You know?
It was good.
Katana chance. I didn't realize how close she was to sort of quitting and all that. I thought that was some really good, an emotional promo here. I thought that was really good actually. But it is kind of two babyface teams, I guess. But still, it's fine.
Yeah, no, but it's it will still be good. If we move on to the North American Championship picture, we had Von Wagner defeat Andre Chase to qualify for the ladder match. Yeah, probably makes sense, doesn't it?
It does, but I just don't see anything of Von Wagner.
I think you just need a big guy in the match, because you've got Ori Mensah, you're going to have one of Axiom, and
he's in there to offer something.
Carmelo, you need just a big guy.
I get that.
Balance it out, but Von Wagner got the win.
The only bit of this match that was exciting was when Andre Chase did his Chase U moves and the crowd were getting
so over Chase U, aren't they?
Yeah, they are when that stuff happened. Oh, and there was one other cool thing actually. Thea Hale slamming Robert Stone on the outside.
Oh yeah,
I like
yeah.
that. I like that.
Robert Stone always gets taken out.
I like that. I don't know how he's still in NXT, that guy, but he's been there years and he's
not been much of a mouthpiece for Von Backlund. I don't see him talk too much.
No, well, Sophia Conwell kind of taken over a little bit before she got called up, and then obviously she got called up into the Maximum Male Models, and then Stones kind of feels like he's back as the main thing there. But I'm not into Von Magna, but I get why he's in the match because the other three are like cruiserweights, and the fourth person will be as well because it's Fraser or Axiom, isn't it? Next week.
Yeah.
As the last spot. So they're all small guys that'll be flying around. So you've got a big guy, it makes sense. And then obviously you had two of the guys already in the match have a match here as well. Orin Mensa and Carmelo Hayes.
Yeah, Carmelo got the win after a Trick Williams.
Thank God he did win, by the way, because he's lost 2 matches in a row. And
he did need a win, Carmelo. Yeah.
I know Orin Mensa's new, but he's already done really well, even just to get into the qualifier match. So
yeah.
But Carmelo's awesome. This match was pretty good, as you'd expect, sort of two fast-paced, high-flying guys. So yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, it was. Probably the other big thing on this show, there's other stuff as well, but the Grayson Waller effect with
I didn't like this segment at all.
I did like it. Interesting.
Oh, really?
I think Grayson Waller's very good at what he's done.
I think he was fine.
I liked kind of the layout of it. I liked the fact he had his own special camera. Then there was tweets going across the bottom, and some of the tweets were quite funny. I can't remember any of them now off the top of my head, but yeah, I was enjoying reading the tweets as he was going along, and I liked how he was kept trying to make it about him, and the back and forth between Cora Jade.
It's kind of like Miss TV, isn't it?
And it also intersected two feuds at once because you have this Roxanne Cora Jade, and then you had the whole always the fear of Apollo, and it was the spin the wheel thing. And he walked over, and there was the guy in the hood, and he kind of checked, lifted up his sleeve, and he had white skin, and he was like, "Oh yeah, you're not Apollo," and span the wheel, and then under the ring, Apollo drags him under, and then he comes out with
I don't like the
blood around his eyes.
I didn't like that, and I also didn't.
For the sake of an eye rake, it feels really over the top.
And I didn't think the
bleeding.
promos between Cora and Roxanne were that strong.
I didn't mind them.
They weren't terrible.
Cora Jade's feud, all right.
I just didn't think it quite had it. Do you know what I mean? And I just thought the thing at the end was terrible.
Interesting Roxanne Perez outfit as well. The half suit, half not.
I wasn't a fan of this segment overall. I would say overall it's a negative. It wasn't, there were bits of it that were okay, but yeah, overall I wasn't really a fan.
No, fair enough.
Were you a fan of Wendy Chu versus Lash Legend? It was over very quickly, which is
barely remember it.
Yeah, Wendy Chu. My notes were Wendy Chu versus Lash Legend. Match was quick. Wendy wins.
Yeah.
Which for me is the right decision. I don't really see a lot in Lash Legend. I think Wendy Chu at least has something. So yeah.
Do you think Hank Walker has something? Because I do not get him at all.
I do and I don't. I
don't get Hank Walker. Don't get it. He's just a security guard.
Well, that's the whole point, isn't it? He's supposed to just be a normal guy. That's kind of the point, I guess. And
he just lost his Zion Quinn, who's the.
I liked him the first time, and I think he's all right. But yeah, he did lose to Zion Quinn here. There was quite a lot of filler on this show.
Yeah,
and that was one of them. That was
Quincy Elliott come out to
we even got
Hank Walker at the end.
Javier Bernal or whatever his name is.
Yeah,
challenged Bron Breakker, and I was like, how am I supposed to care?
Javier Bernal
absolutely destroy him. He lost to Hank Walker.
Yeah,
this guy.
NXT is feeling a bit AWE in the way that they're just bringing in Hank Walker and Javier Bernal. I don't know who these guys are. Why should I care about them? You haven't introduced them to me. I just. Again, I feel like you have to watch Level Up to know these guys or something. I just don't, because apparently Javier Bernal's had loads of matches on Level Up, but I don't know him. So they need to introduce these guys to us. I think they've not done a great job with those two.
We mentioned other big things that happened on the show. There was another big thing that I thought that happened on the show, and it was to do with Schism. So earlier in the show, we had the hooded figure, the girl. You can tell it's a woman now.
Yeah.
Trying to hand out the smiley face things. They weren't happy with her at the start of the show. then she's backstage, and Cameron Grimes stupidly falls into the trap, goes over and talks to her, and then gets beaten up by Schism, and then they officially welcome the hooded person into the group. So I'm assuming they'll probably reveal who she is next week.
Any ideas?
I think it's Isla Dawn, like I said last week.
Isla Dawn, yeah. Okay.
I think it's Isla Dawn. I don't see... It's got to be someone from NXT UK, right? Because I don't think it's like Saray or Tiffany Stratton or one of these people.
Where have them two gone now?
But I don't know. There's two people that are not doing anything. Well, anyone else that's been missing, I think it's got to be someone that's come over from NXT UK because they're introducing. I think Isla Dawn makes the most sense. It could be maybe Aoife Valkyrie, or someone like that.
Yeah,
but
Aoife Valkyrie wouldn't be a terrible.
I think one of them two. But I think Isla Dawn. That's what I think. That's my guess.
That doesn't make complete sense, actually. Yeah, fair enough. And would you have guessed the last man standing in the D'Angelo family would be Stax? Because he was on his own this week, confronts Wesley.
It used to be like a 6-person group at one point.
Yeah, I know, and it's just Stax left.
Honestly, do you remember when I was obsessed with Tony D'Angelo and I loved him? I could not care less anymore. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know, he's gone.
It's not his fault.
Yeah, I know.
I like the feud with Escobar, but that was that's died. Then one of them got released.
Yeah, that's really.
And he doesn't feel important anymore, Tony. Unfortunately, I like him, but I couldn't care less anymore. Unfortunately,
no. One of my criticisms of NXT is I don't think they are featuring the NXT title anywhere near as much as they need to. Like we got a little promo from Dragunov and McDonough.
I thought they had cool videos from those two.
They were, but I just feel like the NXT title does not feel like a big deal.
We just said Break is having a match with Bernal. That's nothing.
Yeah, the North American title feels bigger. The women's title, Mandy Rose is okay. Not so much this week actually, but usually she's on the show.
Well, she arrived at the show, and we forgot to mention actually. So they arrived at the start, and then she was taken out by Albert Fire straight away. Yeah. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, I thought we were getting a 6-woman tag match this week. Maybe next week that's happening.
I think it might be next week, yeah.
Alba, Nikita, and Zoe.
I think that was about it on NXT.
Yeah, I looking now, I can't see.
I think we've covered everything. The only other thing I was going to say, actually, it started off, we had different commentary team this week. So
we did.
We had a guy called Sidhu Shah, who I don't know him really.
I think he commentates on Level Up.
Right, okay. And Byron Saxton was there for some reason as well.
I don't know why they added a third person.
So that got off to a weird start, but I thought the commentary was okay. I didn't notice it being particularly worse or better.
No, I don't know where Vic Joseph was. Whether it was anything to do with the hurricane or whatever.
I think they mentioned something at the start, but I can't remember what it was.
Yeah. And also the color changes.
Yeah, so we got the color change, and
not so much black and gold, but more like orange.
It's white and gold more than anything else. And I thought, okay, we're going to get a big reset here. We're going to get a completely different vibe. It felt like the same show to me.
Yeah, not massive changes, but a definite gear change. Like so for the few weeks previous, they've had the old color scheme, but just with the new logo over the top of it. It's a different color scheme. It is slightly different. I think they might just transition slowly into what they want.
But in terms of the actual product, I don't think it felt any different. I think it felt exactly the same.
And I don't know whether we're going to get a premiere of NXT like we are with Raw and SmackDown. I don't know. I'm not sure. To refresh it completely.
I would like to see it given a proper. I know they've got Halloween Havoc coming up, so maybe that's why they haven't. But
yeah, I think the next big job for Triple H is defining some rosters, because it's a bit all over the shop with. We've criticised, and I'm probably the biggest critic of Vince in the past for a lax roster, just people going wherever they want, and there's no real, there's whatever names he gave it, like the superstar shake-up or whatever. I just think I want to see a proper draft. Just it doesn't. I guess a draft is probably sensible. A draft. Let's just get defined rosters for Raw, NXT, SmackDown, and let's just go from there. Because at the moment it's a bit all over the shop, which I don't really like. I think
I don't mind.
I'd rather see
like
defined
a bit
rosters.
much in a moment.
Well, like some people, like I get Usos, the bloodline,
they've
basically,
got and
but
same with Damage Control as well.
You just got Braun Strowman, Alpha Academy, Austin Theory,
Gargano and Owens,
this week,
and Belair as well for no reason.
Yeah, like it's all just everyone's everywhere. I just think
I did notice that on Friday on SmackDown in particular.
Although there was people missing.
Was raw.
There was people missing.
On Friday. That is true. But still,
then you had Nakamura just do a random walk by backstage segment. You could have done something more. So you could have probably made it work. But yeah, I mean, at the moment, I'm loving WWE's product. So
there are little things I criticize.
That's probably my only criticism right now.
Mine is mainly the distraction finishes. Every match I feel like is a distraction. That's my main one, more than the roster. The roster thing is a slight problem as well, but I think there's too many distraction finishes, which they need to cut down on just a little bit. Do some where they make sense, but you need to do them in every single match. That's the problem with having, we were saying we've got the sort of the link over feuds where people are feuding with multiple different people. Yeah. That's great, but this also leads to this because every Austin Theory match, someone's going to interfere because Theory's got so many people. Same with Rollins now.
Yeah,
like it wouldn't surprise me if Ali interferes on Monday and costs him the United States title to then set up that. Do you know what I mean? It's like it becomes a bit. There's too many. That's the only downside to that. It's cool that there multiple storylines, but and AEW does a lot of distraction finishes as well, by the way. So this is a trope in wrestling in general. That
it's an easy way to protect people, and also I always think on an individual basis you can probably defend the distraction, but just when you're booking a show and you're booking 4 in one show, you need to look at that.
Yeah, I think you should always look at the show, look at the finishes you've got, and go right. If we've got more than one distraction, there's no DQ on there. Try not to have a DQ if it's a distraction, but if you have to do a DQ,
I mean the roll-ups have gone, haven't they?
Yeah, there was maybe one on. Was there one on this show? I feel like there was one on Raw.
Back in the days when Krusty was.
Yes, Candice Dakota was a roll-up finish.
Yeah,
but that's fine. Like I didn't even. I had to look at my notes to remember.
Yeah, I didn't even know that. Yeah,
it was fine. Like there's not 2 or 3 a show.
No, but it's good, and looking forward to Extreme Rules.
Yes, and we will keep an eye on our Twitter. We will have our predictions league details out. We'll have our predictions up. I don't know whether we're going to do videos or just tweet them, but
we should probably send that out
tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning, probably.
Yeah, well,
probably won't predict until Saturday because I think SmackDown might play a big part in predictions.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. But I think.
Look out for that on our Twitter. Follow us at Recharge Wrestle on there. If you listen to us on podcast, follow us on YouTube, Recharge Wrestling. You'll find us very easily. Please like and subscribe on there and watch our content if you want to look at us. If anyone's wondering where Krusty is, he's not been on for a couple of weeks. He will be back, hopefully next week. He's just been ill and busy and unfortunately the days haven't quite lined up where he's been free.
Yeah, we'll get him back.
But don't worry, he will be returning. So follow us. Like I say, follow us on Twitter. Share any content. Look out for us. Go back and watch our Clash of the Castle stuff, live videos. Hopefully, might have some more gaming content at some point as well.
Yeah, it's the plan.
But and we will definitely, hopefully, as well, have an Extreme Rules review Sunday or Monday. Well, I don't know the availability yet.
Yeah, depends on availability. Yeah,
but we will definitely try and get some sort of video out for that because it's a huge show. I will hopefully as well have a quick reaction video to Dynamite because I did watch Dynamite today. Hopefully that will be available soon as well. So keep out for that on our Twitter and keep an eye on that for all of our content. And we'll be back soon.
Cool. See you next week.